When I was 13, I made the worst decision of my life. It traumatized me so much. I'm now 19 and I regret it every day. I decided to move away from my family to a completely different city 2 hours away and live in an apartment with two girls I barely knew, one of them I had never met, to pursue gymnastics more seriously. The way this worked is Monday through Friday, we had gymnastics and we would do like school upstairs online. And then every night a different parent would come stay with us in our 1-bedroom apartment. And then at the end of the week on Friday, we would all go back home and then drive back up to the apartment Sunday night. So I would see my mom like once or twice a week, and then some of Friday, all of Saturday, and some of Sunday. Why she let me do this, I have no idea. Also, all three of us were about the same age and I was in 8th grade. The only good thing that came out of this is I met one of my best friends who was the girl I didn't know. The gym environment ended up being absolutely traumatizing and we were all being abused. Things went south pretty quick. We were all crying multiple times a day. We would cry before practice, we would cry at night anticipating practice, we'd cry after practice, and our parents were like, you made this decision, like you gotta stick to it, but I don't think they knew how bad it was. We all started to experience panic attacks and we just wanted to be home. I absolutely hated like every second there, and I'm pretty sure they did too. I have so many stories of just whack, horrible things that happened there. But like I said, there was one good thing that came out of it, and that was meeting my best friend, and she was the girl that I didn't know when I first moved in. We became inseparable like super quick. We did everything together, and when we weren't at practice or worrying about practice, we were like laughing. The whole time we were supposed to be doing school, we would be laughing. Like, I never laughed harder than I did with that girl. We would have movie nights like all the time, and since we were all staying in the same bedroom, we ended up making a fort underneath our beds because they were all touching, and we'd watch movies under there. My best friend ended up bringing her cat, and we also had a hamster. That hamster is a story for a different time, but we had so much fun having like the cat there. We were definitely all trauma bonded because we went through so much together. I still talk to the girl I was best friends with. I actually FaceTimed her the other night, and she's my best friend I've ever had in my entire life. I wish I could have met my bestie in a different way because the damage was so not worth it. This entire thing lasted over a year, so let me know if you want more stories from this time in my life because I have so many.
Get ready with me for a New Year's party while I tell you guys about the time I was 12 years old and got caught up for sending pics. I was in 7th grade. The guy that I liked asked me if I wanted to send. I'm not sure how many people he sent mine to, but I really can't be complaining because I clipped his ass. And I sent it to one of my friends and I was like, oh my god, like look how big it is. It took long for both of our stuff to get around the literal middle school. When I sent it to my friend, she sent it to a bunch of other people, but at this point in the story, I didn't really know that. People were seeing pictures of my butt, but I was like, whatever. One day I was standing in the lunch lane at school and this girl came up to me. She tells me that the police were calling people out of their classes and interviewing them. And at first, the police didn't really even know that I was involved, but people mentioned my name and they figured out it was me, and I was soon to be called in myself. All I could think about at this point is like all the incriminating ass evidence I had on my phone. So I run out the cafeteria to the library and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to delete everything from my phone, and managed to kind of hide out for like 30 minutes until one of the administrators came up to me, asked me what my name was, and told me to go to the office. Walk into the office, it's both of my parents and a cop, and the cop starts explaining to me that as a minor, if you send, distribute, or have possession of those types of pictures, it's considered child and it's illegal. Started crying, and they were like real tears, but like I was playing the victim. Let me off with a warning. Hi, Happy New Year's.
My stalker is now in jail for unaliving someone. And now that he's in jail, I feel safer telling my story. Let's bring it back. I have actually known this man and his family since I was a little girl. Let's call him Freddie. So Freddie was a grown man who was still living with his parents. I want to say he was probably like in his 20s or 30s when I was like a child. They lived in the apartment 2 doors down from ours. And so every time that we would see Freddie, he would always make it a point to say hi to my mom. We would joke, my mom, me and my sister, that Freddie had like a little crush on her because we would be walking as a whole family, even my dad there, and he would only say hi to her. But the whole family felt like relatively comfortable. We knew that he was like maybe a little bit off, but it was fine. So his father unfortunately ends up passing away. He was like sick, so it wasn't unexpected. So now it's just him and his mom. So we start like seeing the police show up like every couple of days to that apartment. So much so that it got to the point where they were just like kind of making like weekly visits to see if everything was okay. And once in a while I would show up to my house and there would be like detective cars like parked outside like unmarked, just watching it. They knew him by name. Boom, 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 Freddie, open up the door. Like, we're just here to check. Freddie, open up the door. Like, they was like buddies at that point. And we would hear them consistently screaming at each other. And it just got so much worse as time went on. We end up finding out Freddie is a diagnosed schizophrenic, which is not bad in itself. But he was always like really good on his medications. Everything was fine. We never saw problems until he decided to go off, which was of course around the time where the police would be showing up to this apartment. So now I'm in my 20s. The mom is like pretty sickly and they're fighting quite a lot. We end up finding out, I'm not even sure who from, he was like physically abusing the mom. This continues to go on. And around this time is the time where he would start shifting his focus from my mom to me. It started off like pretty innocent. He would just see me and say like, "Hi, Kayla," and sometimes start like a little conversation. But then I started to see him like a lot more than usual. In these conversations, he would always tell me how beautiful I was, how stunning I was, and how much I looked like his wife. Who's his wife, you may ask? In Freddie's mind, he was married to J-Lo. Now, in these little hallway conversations that he would stop and have with me, he would tell me that he knew J-Lo from the Bronx when she was, it's funny now because of all the memes. They were like dating and they wanted to get married, but it just didn't work out because she got famous. He bought her a ring and that he proposed to her. Obviously, I knew he wasn't on his medication, so I just like, you know, I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like I had no idea. I had to just play that part and keep myself safe. But over time, he continued and continued telling me, "You look exactly like my wife. You remind me of her." And so I'm like, fuck, this is about to get bad. Go to part 2. My stalker unalived someone, part 2. So this would continue every single time I saw him, which was getting to the point where it was like every single day. Just seeing him in the hallway escalated to him knocking on my door at random points in the day to come see me. There was one particular time where I was home with my grandma and her home attendant, and I hear her open the door and I hear Freddie's voice. She's like, "No, she's not home. You need to get out of here." And so I'm a little bit confused. I'm like, you know, it's not a big deal. Like he knows where I live. He lives right in the other apartment. Like I'm just gonna go say hi to appease him. We will find out why she said that in a little while. Obviously he was doing that stuff to his mom, so I know to be wary. As a woman, I felt like I kind of had to play it smart. The man knows my apartment number, for crying out loud. So he pulls up a picture of this really well-known mansion in our area and he starts telling me that he's gonna buy it. And I'm like, that's really cool. Like, and mind you, our apartment's like teeny tiny New York City apartments. I'm like, what kind of money you got? But anyway, so he starts telling me, yeah, I'm gonna buy it like for you and my son and my wife, and we can all live there together. Mind you, he's showing me the picture of this well-known mansion on Google Images. And so I'm like trying to laugh it off because now I'm uncomfortable. Now I'm scared. And in this conversation, again, he's consistently telling me how much I look like his wife, J-Lo, Miss Jenny from the block. So he's starting to get like more and more in depth about his son. So he tells me his son's name. It's Freddie. Let's go over this. I look like his wife, J-Lo, and his son's name is Freddie. And as he's talking, he's using the position of his wife, J-Lo, and myself interchangeably, as well as himself and his son Freddie and Freddie. He's using their positions interchangeably as well. And so finally I get him to leave. I close the door and I immediately tell my family. So my family's not happy. My dad's pissed. And so they end up talking to my grandmother's home attendant. And she tells them that the reason that she said no is because he does that every single day. He shows up to my apartment every single day, knocks on the door and asks for me. And so obviously the home attendant is gonna tell him hell no every time. I didn't know that. So I'm not sure how long passes in between these two instances. Me and my family are sitting in my living room and we hear the loudest bang on our door. It's 11 o'clock at night. My dad gets up, he's like, everybody stay here, I'm gonna go check. He looks through the peephole and he decides to open the door. We're like, what the hell? It's Freddie. He's asking for me at 11 o'clock at night. And my dad's like, stay over there. So basically, he's telling my dad the same thing that he told me about this house. Now he's added in the point that he is actually a millionaire. And that if I were to marry his son, who is also Freddie, I would never have to worry about anything. I wouldn't have to work, just like his wife, J-Lo. I would be set for life and he's gonna take care of me. I mean, his son is gonna take care of me. And so my dad is like, listen, Freddie, you need to go home. This has to stop. Freddie takes it well. Now it's to the point where gifts start to show up at my house. I come home to 24 roses in a vase with a teddy bear on it. I'm like, what's going on? The next time I get a gift, it's a dozen donuts, just because. So these interactions continue to happen. And it's starting to get to the point where it's way more concerning than it's ever been. When I would see him out, he would be like, hi, Kayla, say hello to me, try to start the conversation about his wife, J-Lo, aka me. But then there was one night where I saw him and he was beeline walking. Pretty much nothing behind his eyes, completely straight face, mouth even like kind of like slightly open, like he was not there. Walked directly past me, didn't even look in my direction. At this point is where it starts to get really bad. My stalker unalived someone, part 3. So after this, I do my very best at all costs to avoid this man. Now I'm freaked the fuck out. My parents are legitimately scared for my safety because we know everything that's going on in his home. However, if they see him or if I see him, we try to keep it quick, but we're still very friendly and nice. There's a point where my dad walks in on him in the hallway, face completely down, screaming, he's wailing. We know that these are a lot of mental health issues that he's having. And clearly the parents were not well equipped to continue to deal with this, especially that the mom was sick and dealing with this abuse. So my dad tries to talk him down a little bit from whatever it was that he was screaming and wailing about. And eventually he does. Whenever I go out, I have to like let my guy friends know, like, listen, can you please bring me upstairs? No, this is what's going on. And we were just on the lookout for anything that may be an unsafe situation. A decent amount of time has passed where I haven't really seen too much of him, and it starts to become a thing that he's like actually missing. I come home one day and there's a coroner's van outside my apartment building. I walk in the door and I see them bringing out you know what. I'm stunned, but I get upstairs and guess whose door is wide open with police and a medical team? Freddie's door. It was the person who was sadly taken away in the van, his mother. So at this point, everybody's minds are kind of wondering, could this have been him? Fortunately, it was determined that she had passed from natural causes. She was old and sick. However, Freddie is still missing. We have no clue where he is. For weeks. I bet you're asking, so who was the person that he unalived? Well, my mom tells me that she stopped in the pizza store next to our house to get a slice of pizza, and that the pizza guy started to tell her how he received a call from a prison in a different state, I won't say where, from Freddie. Freddie used his prison phone call to call the pizza guy and explain why he was in jail. I won't get into the full details of how this person was unalived. Truthfully, don't have all the information, but apparently it was some sort of accident. At the end of the day, it really is a sad story, but it was genuinely pretty scary for me and my family at the time. I truly hope that he does get the help that he needs. But yeah, everybody stay safe out there.
Story time about this girl who faked being Latina. So there was this girl who went to my school, let's call her Sarah. Sarah is the queen of lies. In every subject we talk about, Sarah always, and I mean always, comes up with a lie that has to do with her life. Here's an example. What if we're talking about Tom Holland? She'd just come in and say, oh yeah, Tom Holland is my dad's friend, I met him once. You know, these types of lies. Another one is when she told everyone she's Latina. It was lunchtime in school, and we were talking about where we went for the summer. Sarah tells us that she went to Spain, and she started telling us on what she did there and says that she's 50% Latina. She also said that she lived in Spain for 6 years, and if there is any person who lived in Spain for 6 years, they must know how to speak Spanish. And then my friend Kayla asked Sarah, what does good morning mean in Spanish? And then Sarah looks at us, looks back at her food, and said, I don't know, I'm still taking Spanish lessons. And we just look at her, that she doesn't even know what good morning means in Spanish. If she had lived in Spain for 6 years, she would have known what it meant. I don't know how, but that incident has spread around the entire school. Every person that walks past Sarah just says, Buenos dias, basically teasing her about not knowing what good morning means in Spanish. And then Sarah didn't show up to school for 3 days after that. And oh boy, we haven't even gotten to the crazy part. The 3 days pass and Sarah comes back to school. As soon as she walks into the class, everyone's eyes was on her. She came up, sat in her seat, and this lady showed up in a crop top, skinny jeans, fake nails, and fake lashes. And her hair was in a bun with edges. Yes, you heard me, edges. This lady is white. And in lunchtime, she took out a bag of hot Cheetos and some dipping sauce. I don't know if this was supposed to make us think she's Latina, but trust me, it didn't work. All of the freshmen and sophomores took out their phone and started filming her. This is where I kind of felt bad, but she ran to the bathroom crying, and she just stayed there and didn't show up to any classes for the rest of the day. Story time. So there was this
Pretty crazy story time. So when I was in elementary school, we used to do these lockdown drills just in case an intruder came into the school, we would know what to do. We never knew if it was a drill or not. We just had to assume it wasn't. So one time on the announcements, they called a lockdown and we all had to hide in a specific spot in the classroom. This specific time we were doing it, the teacher wasn't in the class. She had left the class to do something and we just had to figure it out by ourselves. Luckily, we had practiced this drill before, so we already knew exactly what to do. So we were all hiding in our spot as we should. About 3 to 4 minutes go by and then the fire alarm goes off. We all looked at each other because we had no idea what to do. So we could either stay in the classroom, be safe from the intruder, but potentially get burned, or we could leave and the intruder would get us. We decided that we could outrun this intruder, so we decided to leave the class. So we all go outside, but no other classes were out there. So we all kind of just stood there in confusion. The alarm stops, so we walk back to our class, and when we got back, our teacher was very mad at us. She said that pulling a fire alarm is a common trick for the intruder to make the kids leave the class. Oh well.
Tell me you went to a really toxic high school without telling me you went to a really toxic high school.
So I went to the bathroom in the middle of physics class. I go in and I see this girl and she's really not doing well. She looks nauseous. I say, "Are you okay?" She says, "No, I'm fine. I'm just gonna chill in here for a while." I said, "Okay." So I left and then I thought about her and I was like, "Oh my God, I need to go back there." So I go back and I see all these girls from my high school pointing and laughing at her and she's frothing at the mouth, literally having an OD reaction to something. I pick this girl up, I carry her to the nurse's office, and I'm like, "Nurse, what do I do? Do we call 911? I had no idea. I was in shock. And the nurse was like, "Yasmin, don't waste your time on people that aren't worth it." And I was like, "What?"
These freshmen are getting out of hand. Who do these midgets think they are? I swear to God. This tall. This tall. What are you doing in high school? You are a 3rd grader. So I'm walking back from lunch, right? We're walking out of the cafeteria, and all of a sudden we hear these two high-pitched voices. I look back and I see these 2 boys that are the size, that are fun size. They're fun size. And I look back and I make eye contact with one of the little musketeers. And he goes, "You're looking mighty fine today." Who are you talking to? Y'all, I'm being so dead ass. "You're looking mighty fine." That's not even the voice. No, it's not. "You're looking mighty fine today." Who are you talking to? You are a elementary schooler. Why are you talking to me like this? No, it's the fact that I was looking down at him and he was looking up at me and he had the audacity to say, "You're looking mighty